What next?
That was pretty damn good. Brilliant.
Are you happy?
I think it's beautiful. It's almost perfect.
Almost.
Yes, give it more rock and roll. Higher. Try.
Better?
Higher.
One more. One more. Again.
Who even is Galileo? Now, are we done?
It's beautiful.
Easy come.
Love it.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Welcome back to our second episode of video podcast Library Talk Love Yourself. For listeners who are first time listening to our podcast, the concept of this podcast is not only about the book review, but we also will discuss and share certain interesting topic and current issue that you guys should looking for it. So on the previous episode, we have discussed about a very popular issue nowadays, which is depression. Thanks to our guest speaker, Ms. Syazwani, for giving us an insightful sharing. We have received a good response from the sharing. And for those who are missed out the first episode, you may watch the video on IMU Library YouTube channel or clicking on the link on the description below. So from the teaser video just now, I think you will get a hint what is our topic today. So for this episode, we will delve into details about perfectionism throughout the podcast. Be sure to listen attentively until the end of this episode to catch all the specific details. I feel deeply thrilled today because finally I'm here with the most awaiting guest speaker for this second episode, Ms. Carina Lai. She's a student counsellor attached to Self-Development Unit at IMU. Ms. Carina is going to share her expertise on our topic today, which is perfectionism. Hi, Ms. Carina.
Hi, Nurul.
Welcome to our podcast. Ms. Carina, I feel so delighted to have you here today. I'm very excited and I'm sure our viewers also can't wait for your sharing. Because there are numerous aspects of perfectionism, I certain both myself and also our viewers still uncertainties about this. As usual, before we start, could you give us a glimpse into your background and your career journey?
Oh, okay. Hi, Nurul. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah.
My name is Carina. I started my career journey. Actually, I worked in the IT line before.
Oh, I see.
So I only changed career later in life when I found that people like to come to me and I listen to them. So that is when I decided why not I try to study counselling, and I did a master's in counselling.
I see.
So, but I've always liked to work with the youth, and so that's why I chose to work in the university. And I've been counselling for around 11 years now. No regrets and happy in that. And when you invited me to talk about this, is interesting because when I did a personality test, I'm actually under the perfectionist category.
Oh, really? I see.
Okay, so it's something I've been reading on, but when you sent me the invitation, I actually went and read a little bit more. So it was nice, to prepare and understand perfectionism a bit more.
I am sure this is a very interesting topic. I think when we talk about the meaning of the perfectionism, I believe we all know that perfectionist means someone who has a strong desire for flawlessness and sets of exceptionally high standards for themselves or others. They strive for perfection in various areas such as their work, their academics, relation, or personal achievement. But from the view of the counsellor, could you tell us the definition about actually what is perfectionism?
Well, you said it. they are striving for really high standards to do something. And there are many different, there are many different definitions about it. One is what you have said. Another one, when I did my one, is they said that there is a tendency to establish excessively high standards of performance. Yeah. So perfectionism is they want really perfectionism, like everything is high standards. Yeah. But people in certain careers like athletes, even to be doctors, they have to have this perfectionistic characteristic. Yeah. It's important if you want to be an athlete and you want to achieve, let's say, Olympic, you have to have very high standard. If you want to be a doctor, or the life of your patient is in your hands, so to be good and make sure that you do what you can for your patients is there. Yeah. So I guess it is about how to balance. Yeah, not to let perfectionism overtake your life, but actually do enough of it, or have enough of that characteristic where it helps you to perform well.
Okay, so we have to balance the perfectionism.
Yeah.
Okay, so could you provide us with further information about perfectionism?
Well, I like in the research that I did, I like how one of them actually was explaining a little bit about how perfectionism can be self-oriented, socially oriented, or other-oriented. So sometimes what they say about other-oriented is they have high expectations on others.
Okay.
All right. So it could be a parent who is a perfectionist and they might have high expectation on their children, or a boss or colleague might have high expectation on their staff or the team. All right. Another one is socially prescribed perfectionist. That is when they believe others impose the perfectionism on them. So perfectionism, the topic is very wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very wide. Yeah. So I realized that there are some also who have perfectionism imposed on themselves, what they think others want them to do. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that I'm an expert on perfectionism, but as I read, these are what some people, what are some of the definitions and the write-up on it. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so just now you said
One of your character is perfectionism, right?
so you based on your experience, you target to achieve something. Let's say if you don't achieve that
Target.
then what would actually you do?
Actually, there will be a part of me sometimes when I finish a project, and then I'll be evaluating. I could have done this better, you know. And also the critical part of the evaluation and all that. If I was younger, I would say that it keeps coming and I keep thinking about it. But as
Does it make you stress?
I think sometimes if I have a very big project, I might have the fear that I wouldn't do so well.
Okay.
Yeah, so that gives me stress. But I also think that as I grow older and I work on it, I have learned to let go a little bit more. So I'm less stressed, like today's podcast. So I'm also a bit worried, but I am still okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's a journey. It's really a life journey. Yeah.
It's a life journey.
Yeah.
Okay, so from my understanding, right, obsessive compulsive disorder, or we call it as OCD, shares some similarities with perfectionism. So how we can actually identify the differences between perfectionism and OCD?
Okay. From what I understand, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, has to do with obsession and compulsion. All right. So it must have these two characteristics. Perfectionism is just striving to have things perfect. But obsessive compulsive is the person has an obsession, which is usually a thought. For example, I want my books arranged very neatly. One of it is a bit out of place. I need to put it back. So the compulsion is I need to act on it to arrange it back in a neat row. And then sometimes even if it's in a neat row, they will rearrange it again. Maybe I want to reorder it in alphabetical order. You know, and the thought that is the obsession is if it's not in a neat row, that means I am a failure. The compulsion would be the action cannot be controlled so much and I have to do it. So they're either rearranging and cleaning a lot that is just one of the examples. So if I'm a perfectionist, I'm not necessarily have obsessive compulsive disorder. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So now we fully comprehend about actually there's a difference between perfectionism and also OCD. So perfectionist could be a good or bad. It depends on the person itself lah. So if one wish to lower the perfectionistic concern, what they can do?
Okay. Actually, I like one of the other definition where they don't say perfectionism is good or bad, but he put it as two modalities. One is perfectionistic striving, where the person will strive and is motivated to perform well, but they have positive emotions. You know, they do aim for the high standard and performance, but it's more in positive emotions, and the motivation really help to facilitate good work or work towards perfectionism. The other modality is called perfectionistic concerns, where they are thinking more about, I need to meet other people's standard. I have a fear of failure. You know, so I like it because they don't look at it as negative, positive, but it's just two ways. Yeah. And I guess how to overcome it is the lifelong journey about looking at ourselves. And I think this brings us to that book that we are talking about, the gift of imperfection. Yeah. So that one, I think what Brené Brown does is she gives an introduction on how to live life wholeheartedly. You know, but so happened her book is on the gifts of imperfection. I guess it's about acceptance about our imperfection, and then how to live life more happy as a whole person. Yeah.
We can make actually our life as a gift. All right, now we in the second segment of this podcast, which is a book review. Miss Carina mentioned the title of the book that we will discuss today is about the
Gift of imperfection.
gift of imperfection. So can you brief our viewers the little bit of information about who is the author and what is the publisher, so on?
Okay. Can I just take the book?
Yeah, sure. So this is the book.
Yeah. So the author is Brené Brown. I like her books when I was first introduced to it. She's a researcher on emotions. And the few emotions that she researched on more was courage, vulnerability, shame, and another one I think is shame and empathy.
Empathy.
So what I like about her and her books is she actually share from her own life experience. And this book actually she did a lot of research on shame first when she first started out on her research on emotion. She interviewed many people. It's called qualitative research. And in that somehow it led her to research on shame. And in her website blog I read, she said it took her 6 years to understand just one emotion, shame.
6 years.
And that led her to write about wholehearted living, which also led to this. I like her because she is very willing to be vulnerable. Yeah. And then she is also sharing from her life experience. Yeah. So this book actually is printed, I think published 2010, I think. Let me see. Yeah. And what is written here is 2010,
2010.
and it's by Hazardon Publishing, in Minnesota.
So is there any particular chapter that you wish to recommend to our viewers?
Okay. Actually, I like to read one part, a few parts from her book. So this one is on wholehearted living.
Okay.
And then she says that she would like to, she says this, no matter what gets done and how much is left undone, I am enough. Yeah, I like how she put it. So the perfectionist will always think, maybe I'm not enough. I need to keep striving to be better. You know, but she starts off with this. The second thing is she says that she likes to go to bed at night thinking, yes, I'm imperfect and vulnerable and sometimes afraid, But that doesn't change the truth that I'm also brave and worthy of love and belonging. When she first wrote her book on women and shame, no publisher wanted to print her book.
Oh, really?
So she took out her own money, or she took a loan, and then she published it. I guess when it became more successful, then one of the publishing company did that, and the book actually changed its name to I Thought It Was Just Me, but it isn't. And that book is also available in our library.
Okay.
Yeah. Then after that, she read more on this. So this book actually, how does it work? It's quite nice in the sense that I would recommend that that students or whoever wish to, they read the beginning part, Yeah. So it's like on compassion, like introduction, the things that can get in the way. So her first one is introduction, wholehearted living. Then it comes to courage, compassion, connection, the gifts of imperfection. Then it goes into exploring the power of love, belonging, and being enough, the things that get in the way. So that introduction, I feel, sets the background. Then after that is all different guideposts. So the different guideposts, one can just choose what you want to work on. So for example, let's say for me, I want to cultivate play and rest. Then that's why guidepost number 7. So it's letting go of exhaustion has a status symbol and productivity has self-worth. So learn to play more. Yeah. Then if that's the case, then I just go straight to that chapter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
So
lots of sub-chapter.
they have 10 guideposts. Yeah. But the beginning, I think from page 1 to 31 is important to read it. So it's not a book that you have to read from page 1 to the last page.
Oh, okay. It's very interesting. So for those in IMU who wish to read this book, you can find it on our library. You can jot down the call number. The call number is BF397.BRO.
697.
Yeah, 697.BRO 2010. It is an open shelf book and under philosophy and psychology subject. So Miss Carina, your sharing has been incredibly valuable. I'm sure our viewers are eagerly looking forward to exploring the contents of this book. Now we are in the last segment of this episode, which is random question. In this segment, we will select 2 questions from student or staff for you to answer. So,
Okay.
Are you ready?
Okay, I'll try my best.
Okay, so the first question is, hi Miss Nurul, I wonder if being a perfectionist is a good thing. So what do you think?
I think that's good. As long as anything that doesn't make our life functions that overtake until we are too stressful. Aiming for perfectionism is not a bad thing. So it's like what I shared earlier about perfectionistic striving. Yeah, so that will help one to aim for or work towards perfectionism without being overtaken and too worried. But if one is going into more perfectionistic concerns, and then there's always the fear of failure, they can't sleep, and then they're worrying all the time. And then after that, for days after an event, they're evaluating and re-evaluating how they can improve. Then that can be very stressful and impacts one's well-being and happiness. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yep. So actually, can perfectionist lead to mental health issue? As you said just now.
They will be like a predisposition. Perfectionism can be a predisposition that can lead to certain mental health issues. But what mental health issues can be varied? It might be depression, it might be anxiety, it might be OCD. And some do say that the quite maladaptive perfectionism can be caused by the environment or people around them who keep being very critical, controlling, and aiming that perfectionism. So that can cause it. Yeah. But not all perfectionists will have a mental health issue. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
One of the other theories in one of the personality tests, they say that if you are a perfectionist, to counter it and to work to balance it is to learn to laugh about oneself, learn to enjoy life, and have humor. So I guess it's a lifelong journey. We can still have to be a healthy perfectionist, is to learn to laugh at ourselves, to let go of perfectionism when we can't, or after something we reevaluate, okay, that's what we can improve, and then after that we move on. You know, so that would be I would say the perfectionistic striving lah.
Perfectionistic striving. So you are the perfectionistic striving.
I would say that I have moved towards that more.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's a good thing.
yeah, thank God. I think it's the perfectionist, one thing good about it is because they know how to be critical. They know how to improve oneself. So it's not improving other people but also themselves. You know, so the personal growth would be there.
Yes.
Just the part that one need to balance is not to be too hard on oneself, which is what the book is saying. Letting go of control, be more compassionate, have more gratitude, like what you said earlier about it, like wholehearted living is a gift. You know?
Yeah, it's a gift.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Miss Carina, for taking the time to share your thoughts. And before we end, do you have any last word to our viewer or advice?
I'll say go out, play, and have fun.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very compact advice. Go out, play, and have fun.
And
With your
explore. I guess maybe
explore.
what I would like to say is what I always talk to students or share with students. Sometimes we have an emotion or characteristic which we do not like.
Oh yeah.
So I would say is to befriend it. To befriend it is like if we have a friend, you know, if you want to get to know your friend more, what do we normally do? You know, let's say if I were to ask you that, if you want to know a friend more, you like the person, what do we normally do? What would you do?
Maybe I'm being close to them and then ask them their favorite things and something like that.
Yeah, so you're learning to get to know them.
Yeah.
So whether it's perfectionism or whether it's a feeling of anger or whatever, we need to befriend it.
Oh.
So I feel that when we read more about it, then we know it is not a bad thing. Whether anger, shame, happiness is not, it's just something that tell us who we are, that is something that needs to be attended to. So one of the quote I like is also in another book in the library. What's that book? It's about meditation by Thich Nhat Hanh on anger. So I like the way how he described it. He said that like anger is like a baby crying. So when the baby is crying, what we need to do?
Oh, we calm the baby.
Yes. And we have to see, is the baby hungry? Is the baby afraid? You know? And then when we know, we calm the baby or we feed it or we change it. So the same with the emotion. It's a baby that is crying in us. If it is perfectionistic concern, there's something that is crying in us that needs to be attended to.
We just need to learn how we can handle.
So when we understand either
emotion.
perfectionism or some other things or emotion, we understand more, then we know how to attend to it. And then we will. So that I think is, if you ask me for an advice, that would be the guideline I give lah.
Yeah, I hope this will help our viewers. And with that, we come to the end of this episode. Thanks, Miss Carina, for joining us. And we hope all the valuable knowledge and sharing today will be significant benefit to our viewers. So everyone, as usual, please be sure to come back on the next episode, and there will be another exciting episode that you should waiting for. Until then, I am Miss Nurul, and don't forget to subscribe us. Love yourself.
Thank you, Nurul.
Thank you so much, Miss Carina. Thank you.